Go. All right. We just have a few people on right now. Hi. Hi, everyone. Look, I'm going to silence your, I'm going to mute you all, okay? And then I'll bring up the Miranda and Rachel. Rachel, I don't even see that I can even mute. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm going to mute you. So a few more people will join in. I see more. Hi, George. Welcome. I'm going to mute you. Okay. I'm going to pull up the chat box, all right, and say hello. This is how you will talk to me. There's more. So they're going to start to come on. Hello, Miranda. How are you, my dear? Okay, let's see. I'm just going to mute people. Hello, Miss Jessica. Thank you for muting. All right, so come on over and just introduce, and then I think I will bring this computer. Say hi. This is my online crew. They're there.
Hi, y'all. My name is Shana, and I am the co-owner of Three Forks Bakery and Brewing Company, and I'm going to be talking about our business and particularly crowdfunding, right? That's
yep, crowdfunding. Yeah. Okay, so there she goes. I'm going to move her over. Did you guys hear her okay? Everybody hear her all right?
Yeah, I talk really fast, so feel free to
please tell me in the chat box, can you hear her okay?
So yeah, we are a relatively small business, although I think our one of the largest employers in downtown Nevada City. We have 43 employees. We're right now grossing $1 million a year. That's not profit. It's not profit. Restaurant business is not a way to get rich. We have very little profit. It's a very tight profit margin, and especially the way we do business. We buy the highest quality ingredients for 100% organic. We source all of our meat locally. We have direct relationship with every single vendor that we work with. So we're spending a lot more money on ingredients than probably any other restaurant in town. It's part of why we kind of chose the model we did, just a counter service model, because we wanted to keep the prices a little lower so that the food felt more accessible. We didn't want to be a sort of pretentious local food place only for people that could afford it. We wanted this to be a model that we said everybody should be able to eat this way. Everybody else should have access to good food that you feel good after you eat it, and that supports our local economy. So that's our basic premise. We really want to make our local economy stronger, and in particular our local agricultural economy. So we spend, the amount of money that we spend sort of in the local community, we do as much supporting local nonprofits that we can. Most of that money we push toward land-based work. So we support Sierra Harvest, we support the Red Eagle Land Trust, we support the South River River Citizens League. Those are kind of our top funding priorities, because we see that if we want to feed people, we need to have land to do that. We need to have water to do that. And it's going to only get harder with climate change. So, as a business, we're sort of seeing how we fit into larger decisions that we're making as a community about how we manage water, how we manage land, how we feed ourselves, kind of the fundamentals of how do we survive in what feels like it's about to be a post-apocalyptic world, right? It's like shit's going down. And so we get that, like, as a business, we need to be tuned in to that, and that we have power as a business. We have power as an employer. We have power as a moneymaker in our community. So we're, this is kind of getting aside from the crowdfunding thing, but I just wanted to tell you that's, we really care about our community. It's me and my business partner. We have 18 investors. So crowdfunding is a small part of how we raised money. We raised $500,000 to start our business, and a lot of that was the brewery. The stainless steel is really expensive, so a big chunk of that money was just buying all the brewing equipment. What's that?
Glad you did.
Thanks. Yeah, me too. I like beer a lot. So we did do a crowdfunding campaign. We did it on Kickstarter. As Natasha said, there's a lot of different platforms out there. When we did it, it was kind of a new thing. I think we were one of the first crowdfunding campaigns in Nevada City. And we were kind of able to leverage that in terms of media, because everybody was kind of curious, like, what is this crowdfunding thing? Now it's like everybody sort of is aware of it, and it's a much more common way of raising money. But I have a background in doing kind of event production stuff, and I've done a lot of media work, and so that was really helpful. I was able to write press releases and say, okay, what's our angle here? So we can get, we were on the front page of the Union, we were in Ubinet, we had interview on KVMR, we had interview on KNCO. We were really able to say, like, hey, what we're doing here is pretty unique because it's a crowdfunding thing. And so that wound up being really good press for our business in general as a new business. But it also obviously helped our crowdfunding campaign. So the way Kickstarter works specifically is that you have a specific goal and you do not make any money unless you reach that goal. And so we, in every aspect of our business, we just were total students of it. So, I went and worked at a bunch of bakeries for free to learn about the baking world, to see, like, how do commercial bakeries set things up. I went to a million different restaurants to see how did they organize their walk-in. Every little detail we spent time with. We sat down with, the owners of New Moon, the owners of Summertimes, the owners of every business we could think of that was sort of similar to ours, and said, would you be willing to share information with us about, what's your cost of goods sold? How much business do you do in a day? And luckily, it's a small town, and I have personal relationships with those people because we all know each other. And so they were really forthcoming with that kind of information. We went and brewed with a bunch of different small breweries, similar size to what we're doing. And same with that with Kickstarter. I watched a million Kickstarter videos. I took the Kickstarter, they have like a Kickstarter institute, or I can't remember what they call it, but Kickstarter has a free, little thing you can do on Kickstarter. So we did all of those things. We really tried to put a lot of intention into everything we did because we wanted to be successful. And I still work my butt off. I still work way more than full time, 3.5 years in now. And that's just what it takes running a business, particularly a restaurant, because there's like always something breaking. And somebody doesn't show up and you're like, oh, I thought I was going to be doing this, but I'm doing dishes. That's just how it goes, So, and that's certainly true of any restaurant, but I think in particular the restaurant world, that's true of any business, but I think in particular the restaurant world is very unpredictable. So with Kickstarter, as I was saying, you figure out what your goal is, and then you do not make any of the money unless you make that goal. There are other kind of platforms like Indiegogo or GoFundMe where that's not the case. You can just say, I want to make this goal, but anybody can give, and you get whatever anybody gives, regardless of what you make your goal. So because we decided to use Kickstarter because at the time it was kind of the most known of all the crowdfunding platforms, and also because they are pretty honed in on what they support, and food is one of, there's only 5 kind of areas that Kickstarter is willing to fund, or they don't fund it. How do I say that? There's 5 areas that Kickstarter, 5 areas of focus that Kickstarter supports. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, you know what I mean. So I think it's visual arts, performing arts, food. I don't even know why food's in there. It's mostly the arts, and then you've got food in there. And so because it was so focused, we thought, well, that seems like a good fit for us. There were a lot of other projects like us on there. And we didn't know at the time how much people would be funding us locally versus random people out in the world that just saw us. And we're like, oh, that's cool, bakery, brewery, yeah, I'll give that some money. And turns out it was like 99% locals. Almost everybody that funded us lives here. And I think, they wanted to see this thing in their neighborhood, and they were stoked to get, their rewards. We did mostly food-based rewards. So, you give $250 and you get free pizza a month for a year.
There's your reward. So thanks for the success, but I'll take the pizza and beer. I won't take the beer.
Yeah. So, I think, absolutely you have to have rewards that are enticing to your
Do you do baker? Do you brought somebody to bake with you too? Baker for the day?
Yeah, I did. I think at $500, we had a bunch of different levels. I wish I had. You can go online and still see our campaign on Kickstarter. They stay live always.
Where is that? What would it be for them?
Just look at Three Forks Bakery and Brewing Company on Kickstarter, and you'll see us on there.
Three Forks Bakery and Brewery Kickstarter, and you can see their, what is it called?
Our Kickstarter
campaign.
You can see sort of.
If you want to look at her campaign, okay?
I think for $500 you could choose a day in the bakery with me. So I did a sourdough baking class with people, and they got a little cute apron, and they got some starter.
That was brilliant, though, right?
And for $1,000 you could come brew a day for a day and name the beer. And we also have a $1,000 one that was you get dinner for 10 people, all you can eat pizza, all you can drink beer for 10 of your buddies. So we had 3 people buy that. It's a pretty good deal, actually. So that, I think people did it because they thought what we were doing was cool, but they also did it because they were like, yeah, I want the beer, and I want the pizza, or I want the t-shirt. We did a limited edition t-shirt by a local artist. It's a friend of mine. So things like that, that we felt like had some particular appeal and were unique to us. And so we raised $40,000 on Kickstarter. We started, our original goal was $30,000, because we just looking at other campaigns and looking at stuff that was kind of in similar circumstances, kind of rural communities that were doing similar kind of food-based things. We thought 30,000 seems like something we could achieve. And so we wanted to make sure we were going to hit that goal. We hit that goal within I think we gave ourselves 30 days. You can choose on Kickstarter how long you want your campaign to be. So we chose 30 because that's what everybody else was doing. So we just looked at what works. Okay, 30 days works. Okay, 30,000 works for the kind of thing we're doing. So we chose that. And then we said if we make it before then, we can always extend our goal. And you still get all the money at that point. Once you make your original goal, then you can extend it. So that's just the way, that's the particulars of Kickstarter. So then we extended it to 35, I think. And we made a little less than $40,000 in the end. So, you know, we loved it because that money ended up being totally necessary. We spent every single dollar we raised, both through our investors. We have private lenders. We're in what's called an S corporation, which just allows you to bring on shareholders, and they can only be friends and family. So we're not a publicly traded corporation. We're just, you know, we just like my mom is a shareholder and my business partner's sister, you know, it's just friends and family, people that you know. I think the law says it has to be somebody that you have a personal relationship with. I can't remember exactly how it's defined, but you know, there's particular ways that works. And then we have private lenders that are also all friends and family for the most part. And so, and those are 6-year loans, 6% return on their investment, on their loan, and the first 2 years were interest only. So we thought, you know, we're not gonna have much money in the first 2 years, so let's just pay interest, not principal. So, you know, just so you're like aware of the big picture, Kickstarter was a teeny part of the money we had to raise, but it's basically free money, which is pretty cool, you know, in some ways. I mean, yes, there's rewards, but it doesn't actually cost us, you know, making a pizza doesn't cost us what people buy a pizza for. So being able to basically say, great, you give us the money now, we give you some food later, it's just it's an ingenious way of front loading your needs for a new business. It's changed everything, really. Crowdfunding has changed everything for small business people. You know, the amount of folks who are starting businesses that probably wouldn't have the means and wouldn't have the network that you know, me and my business partner have to have done that kind of private fundraising, it really is a total game changer. It's pretty amazing. There's so many cool projects on there. I give all the time. You know, just like $5 here and there, but it's so inspiring, you know? And not because I want a reward, but because I'm like, this is rad. This person's pursuing their dream, and I can be some small part of it, you know? So it's really democratized a small business in a way that's
those
really
people
profound.
who are out there doing it, how much of the legwork have they already done? Did you tell them how long you guys were underground before you launched?
A long time, yeah. So before we started our Kickstarter campaign, we had a fully functional website. We had a Facebook page. I'd already made sure we had, you know, a lot of people following us on Facebook, so we already have social media presence. I'm not on Facebook personally. I have to start a fake Facebook page so I can have my business page because I really don't care for Facebook, but I got that was going to be necessary. Something like 60% of the people that gave to us through Kickstarter got to us from Facebook.
Wow, how much? What was the percentage?
I think it was something around 60%.
60% from Facebook to Kickstarter.
So
that's huge,
and that's pretty normal. So
do you guys have any questions? You can put it in the chat box for me, and then
before we launched our campaign.
Okay.
And then we kind of found like seed people in the community that did have a big social media presence, and asked them, because I'm not on it and because my business partner's not really on it, we knew we weren't going to be the ones. So like Renette was one of our seeders. You know, I said, you know, we said, okay, Renette, you know everybody, she has like, you know, thousands of followers. Would you be willing to just spread the word? Just say, hey, my friends are in this cool business.
My first time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, she's badass. And she knows everybody. So it was like, great. And then like my friend Bev, you know, has a great social media presence. And she's trusted on social media. So I thought, okay, will you give us a little nudge? Will you just send a link to our Kickstarter and say like, I think this is cool, you should check it out. And that did wonders, you know. And then like going on KNCO, you know, we went on KNCO, we had a 20-minute interview, we got home and went on our Kickstarter page, and we had like $3,000 more funding from a 20-minute interview. And those were people that wouldn't have found us through like Renette. You know, there were people that just listened, like KNCO is not my radio station, and it wasn't necessarily my demographic. And so it was so cool, you know, to reach out to folks that thought what we were doing was interesting, but wouldn't have found us through those other networks. So we really tried to diversify. We did house parties. So we had like, you know, I asked people, would you host a little gathering in your house and we can talk about what we're doing? We did that both for Kickstarter and for our investors.
That's so cool.
You know, the investors is a whole different level, right? That was a
different type of house party. Let me see the money. Oh,
for our investors, we had a minimum of $5,000. Our largest investor is $40,000. So we're talking real money, right? Like, yeah, I've been poor my whole life. I was like, we're gonna raise $5 million. This is crazy. You know, and so it was a really, you know, we had to have our shit together. We had to like, you know, we invited people over. We had a PowerPoint presentation. We did our market research. We understood what the risks were. We understood what our competition was. We understood what the concerns might be of investors. We made sure that we were educated about what we were getting into. So I, you know, knew like, here's how you bake bread. my business partner was like, yeah, I understand the components of brewing beer. So we weren't going into it blind, and our investors could have confidence in us. Or unskilled, yeah. So yeah, and that was, I don't know how key that was in Kickstarter, because you don't really get all of that on Kickstarter. We have like a 2-minute video that just says, here's who we are, and then a bunch of text. It says, here's what we are, here's what we're about. So that was less about selling ourselves personally, I feel like. It was more about selling the concept of like, our town needs a gathering place, and it needs a place to have good food and good beer. And that was compelling enough, for folks that people were willing to back it at a much lower level. Yeah.
Let's see.
Did you have a lot of free time you were planning for this, or just like every single second of your spare time while working, school, etc.?
Yeah, I had a full-time job instead of my business partner when we first started. So we both were working. I had a more full-time job. I was the creative director for the Wild Cincinnati Film Festival here in town. So I was working like 80 hours a week. And then he and I were doing this on the side. We would like meet in my office, like late at night, and plan this. So it was pretty intense for that was like the first year we were planning it. And then basically for like 8 months before we actually opened, we both left our jobs and then worked and we took I took out a loan in order to live on, because I had no money.
Wow.
And so we just did that full time. We did the build out, we did a lot of the work ourselves. I did all the tile work in the building, and we did all the painting ourselves.
I'm gonna get my online. They said that I've got 2 questions. How did you go about finding your investors? Is Kickstarter a loan or like grants that you don't have to pay back? That's 2 different questions.
Yeah, so I'll start with the question about Kickstarter. Any of the online crowdfunding platforms,
We'll get you Milo.
At least that I know of, you don't pay the money back. They're not investors. Kickstarter givers are not, they don't get anything back except for whatever reward
the
is.
swag that you give them.
Yeah,
but if you don't reach your goal, if you don't reach the number you set, if you don't get that number, then yes, the money goes back, right?
Only on Kickstarter.
It
depends on what platform. So, there's lots of different, now there's more and more platforms out there because this has become such a thing, crowdfunding. But for sure, like Kickstarter, Indiegogo are kind of the top, have the most traffic on them. And, as I said, we kind of picked Kickstarters. We thought, well, it has a lot of traffic. It turned out to be irrelevant. Most of the people who gave us money weren't on Kickstarter. They just found us because they live here and they thought it was cool and they wanted to.
So that's how you found your investors from here, huh?
That's Kickstarter. Our investors, so we raised the majority of our money through private investors.
Private.
And that was, as I was saying earlier, that's friends and family. So that's my mom and my grandma and some friends. We have a couple, like actually our biggest investor is a friend of a friend. He owns a winery, and he saw what was happening in the microbrew world. And he was like, I want to get in on this. And so he actually contacted us and he said, I hear you guys are doing this. Tell me more. And we sent him our investment. We had an investment package. So it's like, here's who we are. It's bios of Dave and I. It's, our risk assessment. It's our business, our 5-year budget. So we we spent time thinking about like, okay, how much are we going to make in year 1? How much are we going to make in year 2? What's our growth plan? We knew we wanted to expand the brewery. We didn't have enough money in the beginning to buy all the fermenters we wanted to buy and all the what are called bright tanks, basically the storage tanks that the beer sits in the walk-in. So we knew we were going to need to like raise, be open for a while before we had enough cash flow to buy more equipment and expand the brewery. So we had planned that for year 3. We ended up doing it in year 2 because we had enough cash flow to do so. And now we're done. We've done all of our expansion. Now we're, we knew we wanted to start bottling, so we started doing that about 8 months ago. So we sort of had a plan. We said, okay, we projected. Yeah, and so we shared that with potential investors, so they understood that we were thinking it through. Yeah.
So how many years before you were profitable?
We were profitable year 1, which is really, really.
But how many years did you plan though before we got to year 1?
We didn't. We had like 4 years of talking about it before we actually opened. So 4 years from when, and this is like been my dream since I was in high school. So I've been thinking about this for a long time.
The creativeness, I've created it already in my head. She said something very profound. She was like, I've been poor my whole life. You're telling me I'm going to raise $500,000 or $1 million
right.
or 2 million, right? But she, in her whole life, she is building in this gut feeling, this, oh my gosh, it had there was no chance it would not come to life.
Well, there's probably some chance.
Well, we learned to create in here, but she created it and then she planned, right? So the creation phase has been going on.
Well, and then I worked my ass off, most importantly. I mean, the reason most restaurants fail is because the owner's not there. And people are upset and they don't know that their customers aren't happy because they're not there. Their staff are stealing shit and they don't know because they're not there. That's the reason most restaurants fail. People get into restaurants like, oh, it's gonna be glorious and glamorous. And I'm gonna like sit around drinking wine with my customers. That is not what happens. I do dishes. The first year I was in the bakery every morning at 3 a.m. and I left at like 10 o'clock at night. I did so many all-nighters where I was just like doing dishes until 3 in the morning. And then I was like, now I have to go to the bakery. I mean, it was brutal. I would like go home crying. I was like, what have I done to myself? You know, and that's what it takes is that, you know, you just have to decide you're going to do what you need to do to make it happen and get through that first year.
Milo and then AJ.
How long did it take you to raise it?
Like 6 months, maybe, of concerted effort. But again, it was people we knew already. You know, like my parents were.
But she's talking about your community right here. She's talking about you know people right here too. Her story is your story in a way.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like, this is my community, right? I've lived here most of my life. I went to high school here, you know, and so like my high school, one of my best friends was one of my investors, you know, and I think that I built social collateral in the community. I've had a lot of public jobs here.
Come on.
And same with my business partner, you know, he was a business manager for 23 years before doing this. So we already had sort of clout in the community. People were like, okay, we get it. We're investing in you. We know that you guys know how to work.
There you go.
You know,
I'm investing in you, not your plan. You, the visionary that I see.
So we were already kind of proven to a certain extent. You know, and I think that goes far in a small town.
And
you know,
tell me your question, please.
So I wasn't sure if you knew like the people that own the 5 Mile House.
Yeah.
People that were like involved. So what happened with that? Like, I went there often and I drove past there.
Yeah, I live there too.
Every single night they tanked.
Yeah, I think that well, you know, Robert died. The owner died after they closed. He was pretty sick, and so I think that's part of it. Is that he had pancreatic cancer, and so I think that was part of it. Also, as I said, it's really hard to actually make money at a restaurant. You don't need to, you know, you can be packed and not make money. And so, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of drugs in the restaurant world. I don't know if that was the case at 5 Mile House, but a lot of restaurants don't do well because the owner puts all the profit up their nose. I mean, seriously, like, I hate to say that, but there's like, that's real in the restaurant world, you know, and
I worked in the restaurant world.
Yeah, there's a lot of just people that aren't business people. They don't really know what they're doing, you know, and so I think, so I don't know in that specific instance.
It sounds like they'll be sick though.
I think that Robert got sick. I think that's part of why they closed. And I think there was something with the loan too. The guy that owned the building wanted to sell it, and he has, you know, Old Republic bought it, and they're gonna open up like a brew pub there. Yeah, so there's hope for our future up there.
Yes.
We're gonna have food again.
Yes.
Becky, go ahead.
You have to claim the money you get as income and get taxed on it.
Yeah, and there is actually. Last time I came here, this came up, and I forgot to research it.
We forgot.
Yeah,
But
there
it
is.
ended up being most of it wrote off, right?
Yeah, there are particular tax provisions for crowdfunding actually, because it's such a thing now. And I cannot unfortunately remember exactly how that worked.
When you think about it,
it's profit. It's profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember, you know, with new businesses, and this is not my forte, honestly. Like, I'm not actually a numbers person. I think my business partner is. But with new businesses, there's a lot you can write off. There's a lot you can defer. So, for example, you know, all of our business,
She asked about the tax. Do you tax that
deferred over 7 years?
Kickstarter money?
So
it comes in as revenue. It comes in as profit.
Ways that the tax structure is designed to help new businesses. And so you can get yourself a really good accountant that understands that. And we have a really good one. And she helped us figure out how to like set up our QuickBooks chart of accounts. We have a good bookkeeper that we trust because there are so many horror stories out there about bookkeepers stealing from people if you're not paying attention.
Oh, I've told them an ethics story, didn't I? Started off with the bookkeeper and the operations manager and the affair and all the madness going on.
People are not all honest, unfortunately.
They're not.
But we've been really lucky. You know, our bookkeeper was my good friend who I had worked with somewhere else and really trusted with my life. And, you know, so you just find those people and that's who you surround yourself with. And we have great managers. And that's why I'm not there for, you know, that's why I can be here right now. I'm not there right now, you know, is that we have really great managers. And that took us a year or so to get that figured out. And now I'm going to ski tomorrow.
Right.
So did you already pay off your personal loan?
No.
And
so
how
so they were 6-year loans. That was our agreement. And we took out I think the first 2 we took out a full year before we opened because we needed some operating capital before we could even open, just to buy equipment, to buy our licenses, all that stuff that before you even have a building, you need to spend money. And so we took out, I think we borrowed like the first 20 grand from folks like a year out. So those folks, now that we're like 3.5 years old, so in another year, we'll be just about paid off with our first, I think it was 1.5 years for the first 2. So soon we'll have those first 2 paid off. Yeah. And then, the year after that, the rest of them pretty much. Yeah, which is amazing, actually. I can't wait.
That's very amazing.
Then we might have profit, or more profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, other questions? Any questions about crowdfunding specifically?
Why the name 3 Forks?
We're named for the Yuba River. The name thing was so hard. We spent like hours and hours. And you guys I'm sure everybody has their rock band name. They're like, it's the best name. And you're like, oh, it's taken.
Okay.
We spent so much time trying to think of names.
Okay,
and half of them were taken. Every time we have a new beer, we have to name it, and it's hell every time. Because there's so many breweries and every name's taken, and there's all this trademark stuff out there, so you can't name your beer that's something another beer's name, so it's not in the same state. So you have to go online and be like, oh, it's already taken. That was such a great name. Anyway, so we spent a lot of time thinking about a name. We actually, my business partner's wife's dad is a consultant guy, and he gave us an hour of his time to work with us on kind of trying to figure out what we want our name to be. So we did what's the feeling we want to evoke, and what's important to us, and what are the things we want to get across in a name. And we had pages and pages of names that we hated. And then we had a third partner originally. So it's myself and my business partner are basically the majority shareholders in our business. So we're the controlling shareholders. And we had another guy that originally was going to be a third partner. And so the 3 of us were meeting, and as we're walking out the door of his house, we had spent an hour and a half talking about names and still didn't have an answer. And he's like, what about 3 Forks? And we've been talking about we're named for the Yuba River, the 3 Forks of the Yuba, so South, Middle, North Fork. And we had been talking about South Fork, and we're like, that's too close to South Pine, and just nothing was quite right. And we're like, that's great, let's do it. We were so tired of it.
But it's good. It's a good name, right? 3 Forks.
Yeah, there's kind of 3 forks of the business, right? We have a brewery, bakery, and restaurant. See how the river. Every good meal has a salad, entree, and dessert, which is what we do. So there's 3 forks you eat with. So it's got kind of multiple meanings. And at the time, there were 3 of us. There were 3 business partners. So now we joke that my business partner's wife is out there for.
Okay, so I have 2 questions really quickly. So how many employees did you start with, and how many do you employ now? Do you pay yourself a salary or hourly? That's the first question. And then the second one is, did they get any business consulting before opening? If yes, from where? Okay, so
I'll start with the salary question.
Okay.
Myself and my business partner are on salary, and so are our 3 managers. So we're all exempt, which means we can work as much as we want, and or as little, whatever, just all works out. We get paid the same amount all the time. So my business partner, for example, just fell off a ladder and broke his shoulder, and he's still being paid. And it's just, he's on salary, it's just happening. So that's the salary question. We started out with about 20 employees, and now we have 43.
20 employees, and now she has 43. That's a lot.
It's a lot. We have people there from 4 a.m. We're a bakery. So our bakers, our first 2 people start at 4 a.m. And then our third baker comes in at 6 a.m. And then we have our front of house person that comes in. We open at 7 a.m. So we have a person that comes in at 6 a.m. and gets the restaurant opened. And then the next person comes in at 7:30. And it just goes like that. And then the dishwashers don't leave till 1 a.m. And so there's basically 3 hours a day we're not paying somebody to be there. So we close at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, because we're a bakery and a brewery.
Yeah.
Right? You don't stop here in the morning, so you're going to be open late at night, and this town has nowhere to eat late at night. So you're like, let's do that. Let's be open late.
That was brilliant, right?
You get out of class at 8:30 and you're like, where am I going to eat? Well, I guess 3 Forks is only open at 9 o'clock at night, right?
Except on Tuesdays.
Except on Tuesdays. So you can't go today.
Can't go today, which is sucks because I have been dying to try this place. So Kane said he's going to hook me up one day. Okay. Did you get any business consulting in from? You did, yes, right?
Not really. I took a class. Have you guys heard of Sierra Commons? Some people have. So Sierra Commons is awesome. It's a nonprofit. It's really cool. It's a nonprofit in Nevada City, and they basically help small businesses. They have a course called Business Igniter. I took that. And so I think it was 8 weeks of 2 hours every Wednesday morning for 8 weeks or 9 weeks or something. And each week is a different different professional comes in. So one week is a lawyer. It's like, let's talk about corporations versus LLCs versus whatever. Next week's an accountant. Let's talk about, how do you balance your books? It was useful because I knew exactly what my questions were. I think if you were like, I just kind of want to start a business, it did not have been useful. But it was really cool in that I got a lot of connections in the business world through that. And it was just a focused time for me to be like, all right, I'm going to write my goddamn business plan. Because it was really hard to write that thing. It was tedious, So it was like that time where I was like, okay, I have an assignment. It's like held me accountable to actually doing the work. And knowing that there were these other people in my cohort that were also doing it. They could show up and be like, here's my business plan, let me see yours, So it was a nice way to have accountability, like being in a class like this. It's really good to know that you're in it with other people. But we did not hire a consultant. We also did not hire an architect. We designed the place ourselves. I kind of wish we had. We have a friend who's an architect that looked at our plans and was like, I would move the walk into there, but he wasn't a restaurant architect. So there's some things I would do differently if I knew what I know now. But we didn't have the money to hire, it's like $30,000 to hire a restaurant consultant, it's not small potatoes. So we just decided we're both smart people. We're going to just go and look at a lot of restaurants. And I worked in the restaurant world a lot as a young person. My first job was in a restaurant. And I knew what work and did just from my
experience, right?
Experience. So we just decided to go our own way, and it worked out mostly fine.
And the strategy with closing on Tuesday, because you wanted to be open on Mondays, right?
Yeah, we knew generally Mondays and Tuesdays are the slowest day for restaurants, and so we just looked around town. And we're like, well, everybody else is closed on Monday. Let's be open Monday. And there's a lot of 3-day weekends that we get a lot of Monday traffic for. So like MLK weekend, President's Day weekend. So those Mondays when everybody else is closed and we're open, we are slammed.
Yeah,
because we're like the only one in town. But in general, Mondays are busy days for us because nobody else is open. And that was we were kind of guessing that would be the case, and it worked. But Tuesdays are also busy for the restaurants that open Tuesdays because there's less of those too. There's a lot of restaurants that are only opened, Wednesday through Sunday or Thursday through Sunday.
Right.
So yeah.
So do you own your own building as well?
No, we rent the building.
So you guys, like being a restaurant, you have to have a long lease or something?
Yeah. So we have a 3-year lease with a 5-year extension after that. We have the first 30 years of our lease spelled out in our lease agreement. So
you would want to.
Yeah, we know what our increases are every year in our rent, and that's all based on inflation. So it's all we know what's coming.
So that was part of the plan.
That was part of the plan. Yeah. So when we started, because that's one of our biggest expenses. Is downtown rent. So yeah, rent, our electricity. Oh my God, it's staggering. It's so expensive because we have walk-ins and air conditioning
and you're running almost 24/7.
And the air conditioning's always on or the heat's always on. So we're just like, yeah. So that stuff is way more expensive than I expected it to be. But by far our biggest expense is staff. It's where most of our money goes. And I wish we could pay even more. We're one of the as far as I understand it, from talking to the restaurants, we pay better than just about any restaurant in town because we love our staff and we get that they are what makes our business work.
Absolutely.
And we do staff parties and we give them bonuses when we can. And so we put as much money as we possibly can into staff. Then you're looking for jobs, we're hiring.
And your benefits, you provide benefits?
We provide vacation pay. We have sick pay, that's California law, but we have to provide vacation pay.
And your health care.
We have a pension plan. So we just started that this year, pretty exciting. So we match, if our employees want to put into a pension, we match that up to 3% of their wages. So we just started that. We do not have health benefits.
You don't? So everybody's part-time then?
No.
So how are you getting away with not providing?
If you have over 50 employees in California, you have to provide health benefits.
Oh, over
we have
50.
We have under 50
Okay, there it is. And she said, did you hear that? She said, we will always.
So we really
because the healthcare is crazy, isn't it?
We really wanted to provide health insurance, and we still really want to, but we couldn't do it. There's just no way we could do it and stay afloat. It's so expensive, and it's so chaotic right now. It's like nobody like that.
You don't even know what you're getting in. Milo, ask your question for me. What was your question? And then I'm going to do something real quick.
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it seems kind of crazy the rent we pay. Seems like it would have been better if we could have bought. Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, when things are really wrong, I just call my landlord and I'm like, hey, here.
This is why I'm still a renter. Okay,
I mean,
Mr.
I'm
Lee,
a renter too.
I need you to come fix this. Yeah.
So,
okay.
So I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have enough experience, unfortunately, to answer it well. Yeah.
Give me 1 second to tell these guys. You guys, we have just a few minutes left till you will be done. Our time will be done here. So if you have any last questions, please put them in the chat box for me. The way that you get your points is you have to email me, right? Something that stood out to you, something that you found interesting from her talk today. That's how you get your points, okay? This is awkward. She's like, this is what's going on. I know. Well, we're virtual. Look, I'm loved in all countries and online, okay? So just make sure to email me your comments about her talking. If you have questions for her, please put them in the chat box right here to me, okay? Because that's how I get your points, is by my email. Thank you for showing. This was really just super, right? So ask any last questions. If you don't have any questions, remember to email me what stood out, what was important to you, and if you think of anything extra after, then that's when I get that email, I'll give you your points for the extra credit, okay? So if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. Okay. Do you guys have some questions? Yeah, there we go.
Joe, I'm not answer this, but I'm curious, in a corporation, how does net income, since you're paid salary, you imagine you be the owner, is the corporation separate entity, so all of its net income goes in its own savings account, is not necessarily yours or your partner?
Exactly, it's not mine.
Okay.
Yeah, so my salary is just my salary. It's just my income, so when I do my taxes, that's what I claim.
I'll ask her, Rachel. Thank you.
However, as also an investor, I do have to file what's called a K1. So any corporation gives all their investors this thing called a K1. And so we file that, and I am responsible for a certain amount of tax liability for the profit of our business. Our agreement with our investors, myself included, was that we would make sure, as long as we had profit, that we would each get a dividend at least big enough to cover any increased tax liability because of the profit.
That was so smart.
Yeah, so I'm still not making any money as an investor of the business, but at least I'm not losing money. And that's true for all of our investors. So we said, we'll at least, so, last year I think I got a check for $1,000, and that just covered my increased tax liability. And plus a little, but it's not like a whole bunch of money. So someday, hopefully, but really the way you make money as an investor in business, like ours, like a small business like this, is you sell your shares.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if our business is profitable, which it has been so far, and hopefully will continue to be more profitable as we get better at doing it, is that the shares become more valuable. So when we started, the shares were $500 each. Theoretically, they might sell for $600 each or $800 each. So that's where they're going to make their profit, is when and hopefully we'll buy the shares back from them. That's our plan, is eventually we'll have enough money to buy shares back from our investors if they're willing to sell. It's a risky thing having investors, because then they own the company.
Yeah, they do. Let me take this last question before the 2 minutes are up. What would you have done differently starting up? Is there something you would have done differently? That'll be our last question online, and then we can talk to the class.
We did not anticipate how busy we were going to be, and so we just didn't.
We talked about that growth. Oh, she said she didn't anticipate growth. Interesting.
We anticipate growth is not enough.
Not enough.
So we
got to think about us being able to grow. And I got all shocked, but you're not my global online students who really didn't quite get that discussion board this week. Sorry that I was looking at you guys crazy. But anyways, not knowing enough growth. Anyways, my globals, they didn't get it this week.
I think that's one thing, is I would have, if I could have done differently, somehow would have just been more prepared for being successful. We were sort of like, we wouldn't have done this if we didn't think we were going to be successful. I'm not crazy, like I was pretty sure we were going to be successful. And we both knew we were willing to work as hard as it took to make sure we were successful. And we knew that's what was going to make us successful. But we didn't quite anticipate just how busy we were going to be. And so we weren't prepared for like the level of intensity, and just we didn't have systems in place. I wish we'd had even better systems. And we were luckily very flexible. We were like, all right, that's not working. And like the next day we had a different system. So we weren't like trying to stick with things that weren't working. But for sure we got a little caught off guard, and luckily this community is very gracious and wonderful, and people gave us opportunity to grow, and we didn't get too many nasty reviews online, during those first few months.
Recorded.
Yeah, the other thing I would do differently is like get rid of Yelp somehow. God, I hate that thing.
Oh yeah, get rid of Yelp. All right, that's the last minute. You can say thank you in the chat box, and then remember to email me, okay, please, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you in the chat
Thank
box.
you.
Yep, there she goes. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
I know, me too.
Thank you.
I know, we
Thank
really
you.
worked on it. I mean,
Thank you.
the little bit we had, we had to
Thank
like
you.
basically threaten to get,
Thank
didn't
you.
want us to have, like there was no room.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
They all said thank you, and they're
I
done.
fantasies about. I literally have like.
Oh, it is recording? Okay, cool.
Because it's so nice most of the year drinking outside, you know.